Well, my name is Roland Smith, K7OJL. I was first licensed in February 1959. I have to tell you, it was Sputnik that did it to me. A fellow brought his shortwave radio into our science class when I was in junior high school so that we could listen to Sputnik as it went across. And I was just so fascinated with radio from space. I was fascinated with radio anyway, that I had to go get a license, which I finally was able to acquire in February of '59. Shortly after that, upgraded to general. I now hold an amateur extra license. I enjoy contesting, and I've been a CW Academy advisor since 2020, and I'm also the programmer for the CW Academy website. And we'll look at a couple of the website pages as we go through this presentation today. Also on the line with us is WR7Q Bob Carter from CW Academy, and his job is to keep me straight. So if I stray and go someplace else, Bob will make sure that we get back on track. Welcome, Bob. The CW Academy is sponsored by the organization CWops. Some of you are probably familiar with this organization. It's a worldwide organization, more than 7,500 active ham radio members worldwide. And their mission is to advance the state of the art of operating across the full spectrum of CW. And to that end, they fostered and organized the CW Academy, where our job is to be the educational arm of CWops. And our mission is to increase the number of competent CW operators. Now, that word competent is really important. And we want to guide our students into becoming much better CW operators as they increase their speed, their skills, and their activity, on the air. The CW Academy offers 4 levels of classes. The beginner level class is the one for folks who have little or no Morse Code CW capability, and it's our most popular class by far. During that class they'll learn the 40 characters, common CW characters, and they'll be able to send and receive about 3 or 4 words a minute when they get to the end of the class. One of the advisors told me that the hardest thing that he's ever done after puberty was to learn Morse code, and I can understand that, very, very, very well, because I also had to relearn Morse code years later. But I've also heard from a number of students who say the beginner class is what made it all possible and made Morse code and CW exciting to them. Most of the students who successfully complete this beginner level of class will go immediately on to take the basic level, which is the next level. In the basic level class, we're essentially focusing on, we're primarily focusing on instant character recognition. We pick up at about 3 to 4 characters per minute, and over the course of the 8-week semester, we'll increase speeds up to around 13 words a minute, with a lot of emphasis on sending good, clean CW. We'll spend a lot of time working on folks being able to confidently send their call sign, their name, and their QTH every time without a mistake. It is kind of embarrassing to mess up your call sign or your name when you're on the air with somebody else. And it can become discouraging as well. Most of the students who complete the basic level class, a little more than half, are quite satisfied with where they've gotten to. They're able now to send comfortably at around 13 to 15 words a minute. They've been on the air. They've been able to make CW contacts, and they've just have been able to add CW to their list of things that they can do. But about half of them who complete the basic level class go on to the advanced level class. The advanced level class picks up at around 10 to 12 words a minute, increases up to around 20 to 25 words a minute. But here it focuses specifically on hearing CW as a language. The students will make the transition from hearing character patterns and knowing it's an A or a Z or an X or whatever, to hearing words. We start with working on 2 and 3 letter words like his, am, her, was, she, so on, and then move on to the common 4 and 5 letter words, in the vocabulary, and the and essentially that Morse code becomes just another one of the languages. I many years ago had the opportunity in the Air Force to learn to speak Chinese, and it was one of those revelatory experiences when suddenly Chinese started to sound like a language. And the same thing happened with Morse code, where Morse code starts to sound like a language. Now, I've heard folks talk about the intermediate and the advanced level classes from CW Academy, and they say that they're for contesters. Well, hams interested in contesting will definitely benefit from the intermediate and the advanced level classes. But learning to hear CW as a language has much broader application across the whole amateur radio spectrum, not just contesting. And you'll be a better DXer, you'll be a better paper chaser, you'll be a better contester, you'll be a better traffic handler, and across the whole spectrum of CW. You benefit from taking the advanced and the intermediate level classes. So the next is the advanced level class. We pick up at about 20 words a minute, work up to around 35 words per minute. There's a lot of work on being a very competent contester, DXer, traffic handler, rag chewer, and so on. And with a lot of emphasis on head copy and being able to hear CW as a language and just understand it as it goes on. Most of us don't have a conversation with somebody else in English and write down what's happening, every word for word for word for word. We just hear it and know the language. And that's part of what we're really trying to accomplish when we get up into the intermediate and particularly the advanced classes. The CW Academy class schedules, we offer classes 3 times a year. They're called semesters. The classes are 8 weeks long. We hold the classes in January and February. In fact, the next week, most of the classes for this semester will be underway. We hold them in May through June, and again in September to October. The classes include daily homework assignments, about an hour's worth of homework a day. And then meeting twice weekly online using Zoom or Skype or Google Meet or something similar to that. And those meetings last for about an hour. The advisors choose when they're going to start holding the class, and because we have students from all over the world, the holiday schedules in different parts of the world may dictate when the class starts. Here in the US, most of our classes will start on Monday or Tuesday, someplace around in there. But we already have, in some parts of the world, classes already underway because the holidays are not on December 25th, but they're on January the 6th, for instance. In order to be able to participate, however, we have a number of requirements that the students need to meet. Because we attract students from all over the world, we hold the classes, generally speaking, are held in English. For instance, in this coming semester, I've got students from Estonia, Slovenia, Ireland, England, Hawaii, and Australia, as well as Maryland, South Carolina, Florida, Arkansas, Texas, and California. I've also, in previous semesters, had students in Portugal, from Spain, the Philippines, English, Israel, and in all cases, English is the common language. And most of our foreign students want to take the class in English because the people that they will be communicating with on the air are going to be talking with them in English as well. We're asking for a serious commitment of 60 minutes of daily practice. That's not 60 minutes today and maybe 2 more days and then maybe a little bit and something else. We really want consistent everyday time in the seat with a hand on the key. In fact, the daily homework is really critical to the student's success. If the student gets behind, it sometimes becomes very difficult to catch up. We require them to use a paddle, not a straight key or a bug. Bugs are difficult to set up, and they're also difficult to maintain pacing while sending, and particularly as we increase speeds over the semester, and can be a bit disruptive in the class. A good paddle, and I mean a good paddle, not something that they've 3D printed the day before, is really key, and that's pun intended, to the student's progression from 3 to 4 words per minute up to 25 words per minute, and being able to send clear, well-formed characters and maintaining the pace. The online class is where we handle issues, problems, questions, concerns, and do teaching. It's also a place where the students can practice with each other and don't have to worry about presentation fright. So they need to know that their commitment is to do the homework and to be able to get into class on a regular basis. Now, that being said, I have a firefighter in one of my classes. He works 72 hours on, followed by 3 days off. And when he's on duty, he isn't able to participate fully in the class, and quite often can't participate in the class at all. He's really quite motivated. So figuring out a way to be able to accommodate his schedule is really important. And like many other CW Academy advisors, I want him to be successful. And so we've arranged to have some one-on-one makeup sessions. I'll record the class sessions so he can watch them later, and will help to arrange opportunities for him to practice outside of class with the other students in the class. And that way, even though he will miss probably a fourth of the class sessions, he should be able to complete the class and be able to be successful in what he's doing. And it's time to cough. Some additional requirements. In the class, we're going to do a lot of sending and receiving of code. Students will send back and forth to each other. Some advisors send code to their students and have them send stuff back. And so we need to be able to hear their key. Most of the time, the key is either connected into a keyer, which can generate a side tone, or there's also many radios that you can connect the key into the radio and put the radio into a CW learning mode, and where it doesn't transmit. I also have had a couple of students who turn the power all the way down to 0 and connect it to a dummy load, and then turn up the side tone and use it in that fashion. But we need to be able to hear the student while we're in the class and over Zoom. That Zoom is the most popular video conferencing software that the advisors use, but we also have advisors who will use Skype. We have some that use WebEx, and we've got some that use Google Meet. It's just whatever works best for the advisor. The Zoom people have done a lot of work to suppress unwanted noise and to emphasize speech. Unfortunately, that means that they consider the sound of our keys as noise, and they suppress it. So there are some very specific settings that are required in Zoom that will turn off the noise suppression in such a way that we can hear the student's key. And fortunately, there's also a lot of people who teach other things besides Morse code on by way of Zoom. Like there's a lot of piano teachers and music teachers and so on. And of course, they have the same problem with the with Zoom suppressing what it is they really want to hear. And fortunately, the Zoom people are aware enough of that they've been able to put some settings in that allow us to be able to hear the key. Because we're going to be doing these twice weekly video conference sessions, a high-speed internet connection is really, really important. And it probably it almost always needs to be a connection by way of a computer, not a tablet or a phone. It just simply doesn't work as well. And if you're going to take the intermediate or basic or advanced classes, the software packages that we use to do the contesting and DX simulations and so on run on Windows. With a great deal of effort, you can make them run on a Mac, but most people aren't savvy enough with how to do that. They get very, very frustrated when they're trying to make it work on a Mac computer. Now, I happen to be a Mac fanboy, but almost all of my ham radio operations are done using a Windows computer system. So those are pretty much the requirements. So when a student wants to sign up for the class, those are the requirements are spelled out pretty clearly so that they understand what it is they need to commit to come into the class. Typically, the twice weekly online classes kind of go like this. The advisor will address any problems, questions, or concerns that any of the students will have. We'll do a homework review, and this is kind of important. The students like to hear how the other students in the class are doing, and most of the software programs that we use to assist in the teaching process will give you a score, and the students like to not only report their score, but more importantly, they want to hear what other people are doing. And that little kind of peer pressure, little light peer pressure, really helps to people to do their daily homework. It will also be time for instructions and demonstrations. During the course of, for instance, during the course of my basic class, we'll talk about and spend time on what is a QSO, what are the components of a QSO. We'll talk about parks on the air, summits on the air, and and other kinds of activities that students would be interested in doing, and how they work, what the protocols are, and so on. All as a intended to help motivate the student to get on the air and make CW QSOs. Students will spend time in the classes sending and receiving either with the advisor or with other students, and we try to balance that so that there's about as much time sending as there is spent listening. CW is sending, and consequently, we put a lot of emphasis on that particular area. And then, of course, we'll end with the review of what the upcoming homework is and make sure there aren't any questions or concerns that are associated with that. And so a class will take about an hour, and then we'll do it again a few days later. Okay, well, I thought maybe some statistics might be interesting. For our upcoming January semester, which, as I said, some of it has already started. We've got 77 advisors across the spectrum from beginner to basic to advanced and intermediate. And we're holding 110 classes. On the student side, we've had 910 students register to take a class. And these are students from all over the world. And by the way, there's also a nice and increasing number of YLs for academy class. 77 students that confirmed in the middle of December that they were available and would take a class if they were assigned to one. we ended up with being able to assign 598 students to classes. Most advisors want between 5 and 7 students in their class. We've got a couple of them that like a little bit higher number. Personally, I prefer 8 in the class, and I kind of prefer even numbers so I can pair students up with each other in the class. We've got 169 students right now on the waiting list, and in a week or so, any of them that don't get into a class this semester, we'll move them automatically to the next semester, let them know, and we'll give them priority so that they will have a higher probability of getting into a class in the May-June semester. It's pretty common that we always have more students than we have advisors, and we kind of prefer that to having more advisors than we have students. But on the other hand, our real preference will be to have that balance as much as possible, and have as few as possible students on the waiting list and have to be moved to the next semester. So how do we do? About 82% of the students who take the beginner class successfully complete the class. Now, during the class time, some students will drop out for family reasons, job reasons, health reasons, kind of an affair, and some will just struggle and not keep up, and some will just drop out. But but of those who start the class, about 82% finish successfully complete the beginner class. Basic is a little bit lower, 76%. 70% of the intermediates complete the class, and 94% of the advanced students successfully complete the class. Most of the beginner students will immediately sign up for the basic level class. If they successfully completed the beginner, they'll sign up for the basic. About half or so of the basics will sign up for intermediate. Most of the intermediates sign up for advanced, and excuse me, and that obviously as far as we go. So the success factors associated with it first have to do with the level of motivation. Beginning students who are coming into the class, they don't know Morse code, they don't know CW, they're curious, more curious than anything else. And there are some who this is just not their bag, and the motivation to put in the time and the effort just isn't there. Time management is crucial. There are, life goes on even though you're in a class. And as you're taking, and we're asking you to take an hour out of every day, and on 2 days of the week, taking 2 hours, an hour of homework and an hour of class out of your time, and that just simply requires reasonably good time management, or the student will get behind, become discouraged, and not finish the class. We found that the engagement that the student has with the other class members, both inside and outside of the class, is also a key success factor. I've had a student in one of my classes that wouldn't turn on the video during the class, hung back. It was very difficult to get the student to participate. And turns out the student had a great deal of anxiety, and we ended up having him move to doing literally one-on-one instruction in order to be able to help him come out of that shell. But it was not a good experience for him or the other class members with him in that particular class. And then, of course, if a student gets on the air, now obviously they have to have a license that allows that. We have quite a few foreign students that come in to take the CW Academy classes, which in order to be able to get sufficient Morse code CW proficiency to be able to get a license. And there are still quite a few places in the world that have a Morse code requirement for their, to be able to obtain a license. But if the student is licensed and has the equipment, it's very important for them to get on the air. As soon as they can get on the air and have that first QSO experience, with all of the fumbling and everything else that goes along with it. I mean, they literally come out of it euphoric and really ready to move on quickly. And so getting that first on the air QSO experience is a real motivator for students in our classes. Okay, well, I would like to talk a little bit about, all right, so you want to sign up. How does that work? Well, there's the URL, CWops.org, and find the CW Academy drop-down list, and you'll find the student registration page that's on there. And the page starts off looking like this. We ask for some basic information. We need to be able to communicate with the student and then the advisor to be able to communicate with the student. So we're asking for the personal information only that would be generally otherwise available, and it meets all of the privacy requirements that the European Union has implemented. From there, the student then, we want to know whether or not the student is under the age of 18 or under the age of 20, actually. We'd like to, if at all possible, to assign young students together in the same class. You know, that way they're not intimidated by having other adults and that sort of thing in the class. It's just, they need to be in with their peers. If they're under 18 years of age, we want the advisor to contact the parent or the guardian and make sure that the parent or guardian is okay with this unknown guy having email conversations and online conversations with their child. This is particularly important for European students, and is also particularly important if we've got a young lady involved in the class. We definitely want the parent or the guardian to be involved and know what's going on. We then want to know what class, when do you want to take the class, and which class do you want to take? There is a self-evaluation page on the CW Academy where you can go listen to different segments of Morse code, and depending upon what you're able to copy, you're able to make a determination of which level class you should be taking. And if a student has a question with an advisor about whether or not the student should be in that class, we'll use that self-evaluation process to help the student understand whether or not they should enroll in a basic class or an intermediate class, or perhaps even back in the beginner class. Once the student has selected the semester and the level of class, we then want to know where in the world are you as a student. And essentially what we want to know is what time zone do you live in. And so if an advisor is planning to teach a class at 7 p.m. local time, and a student wants to take a class at 7 p.m. local time, the way we match them up is we use the time zone for the advisor and the time zone for the student, and calculate whether or not the two times match up. Essentially what we do is we just convert all the times to UTC. And so if the student is living in the mountain time zone, -7, and wants a class at 7 p.m., well, that's midnight UTC. If the advisor is in the 7 time zone and wants to teach a class at 7 p.m., well, that's midnight UTC. And we can match the two of them up in that fashion. And then finally, the next thing we show the student is what are the potentially available classes based on where you live. And so these are presented in local time. In this particular case, there are several basic classes that are available from 7 o'clock in the morning all the way through midnight in the evening. Now, as an advisor, I generally teach I like teaching basic classes. I'll teach 2 of them every semester, and I'll teach one of them at 9 a.m. Mountain Time and the other one at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. And what happens is I end up with students from Europe because it's in the early evening for them, and I'll get retirees and other people in the U.S. that want to take a class early afternoon and have their evenings free. Kind of an affair. It makes for a very diverse class for across the world. But anyway, the student signs up and says, these are the time preferences that I would like to take a class. And then when it comes time to assign students to classes, we'll take their time preferences into account. We'll first try to match them up with a class based on their first choice. If that isn't successful, we'll try to match them up with a class on their second choice, and then their third choice. And if none of them work, we'll make an arbitrary assignment and inform both the student and the advisor about that. Now, why wouldn't a student get into his first choice class? Well, that's what the color codes indicate on this side. A green color code means that we've got quite a few classes that are being taught at that time. An orange color code says we've got some classes being taught at that time. And the yellow one says we have a few classes, maybe only 1 or 2 that are being taught at that time. And if 25 students sign up and say, I want one of those yellow color coded classes, and we've got one advisor who is willing to take 6 students, only 6 of them are going to get into a class, and the other ones we're going to have to fall back to either the second or third choice for getting into a class. But this helps us to, as best as possible, to accommodate students from all over the world. For instance, I've got in my upcoming class, starting on Monday, on my 11 a.m. class, I've got a student in Australia. For him, the class is at 5 a.m. on Tuesday morning. I'm teaching it at 11 o'clock on a Monday morning, but he is thrilled to get a 5 a.m. class because he's an early riser and he goes to work at 7 in the morning. And that gives him an opportunity to get the class out of the way before he goes to work. In some other cases, I've had a student out of the Philippines sign up who works who worked a swing shift from 4 in the afternoon until midnight, but would like to take a 1 o'clock class when he got home from work and before he goes to bed. And so setting these classes time schedule up in this fashion gives students in the worldwide an opportunity to try and get into a class that best fits their schedule. Okay, well, they said I had an hour, and I said I probably won't be able to take a whole hour, but we're going to see whether what questions you all might have. But it's your turn. If you haven't done so, sign up and take a class. Learn some CW. It's a lot more fun than FT8, which is kind of like watching paint dry. And there are far fewer lids on CW than there are on sideband. In fact, I don't think I've ever heard the F-bomb on CW. Not so on sideband. If you're interested in contesting, DXing, POTA, SOTA, lighthouses on the air, and those kinds of activities, CW is faster, it's more satisfying, and it's more likely to get you into their log. And if rag chewing is what you were interested in, well, CW reaches all over the world, and you'll meet people all over the world you would probably never meet on sideband in the process. However, if you know CW already, sign up and teach a class. You can also make your wishes known that you'd like to be an associate advisor for a class and work with another advisor in teaching the class. But being a CW advisor is definitely the ultimate in giving back to the hobby. It is just so much fun to work with a group of 7 or 8 students and move them from 2 and 3 words a minute to 13, 15 words a minute, and getting on the air and having QSOs and going portable and operating and so on. It is just a very, very satisfying experience. Okay, I'm open to questions.
Okay, thank you, Roland. We try to use the raise the hand method. Most people know how to do that. I see Larry's all ready to go. So Larry, go ahead and take it.
Unmute yourself.
I know. I was trying to. Anyhow, I was just wondering why you go with the paddles instead of straight key for training.
Well, I think there's two or three reasons. One of them is that I know that there's some other online opportunities that people have where they use the straight key, but I think it's difficult to get up above about 10 words a minute and be able to send good, clean, nice straight key code for most people. And getting to 20, 25 words a minute with a paddle is not nearly as difficult as is to be able to do nice, good, clean code with the straight key at 20, 25 words a minute. The other reason is transitioning from a straight key to a paddle is not necessarily easy. And so we want students, if they can, to start off with a paddle so that by the time they get up into that 15 words a minute and higher speeds, they're not having to make that transition. Does that help?
Yeah, I really think that's great. I've always had issues with the straight key.
Okay.
I think Loretta's next.
I think Gene has his hand raised, Dan.
I see that. And I like to make sure everybody stays muted until they're ready to talk. We have a few people that when they talk, they just sort of take over or noise in the background there. All right, Loretta, go ahead.
Unmute.
Hi, yeah, I start class on the 3rd actually. I think I'm in the basic class. So I'll be doing my classes out in the ham shack. My radio does have an option to, I turn off the break-in and I can use my key without it transmitting. You said that Zoom might make it difficult to hear me. What software is it on the CW Academy? Does it have the software to go for how to fix that if it's a problem?
Yes, there is a document out there. It's kind of obscure, and Loretta, I'll send it to you if you wouldn't mind putting the your email address into the chat. I'll fire that off to you. The settings are not they're not hard, and they do make a real difference in the audio quality from Zoom.
Okay, Gene, you had your physical hand up, so I assume you want to speak. So go ahead and unmute and speak.
Yeah, good evening. And my question is there a cost associated with the classes? And if so, how is that paid in advance?
Okay, the only cost is your time. These are, this is all a completely volunteer effort, and on both the advisors as well as the students.
Well, outstanding. That's to be commendable.
Yeah, the only cost is your time, and if you're willing to put the time in, we want you in the class.
Okay, sign me up, Scotty. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. And I might point out to everybody, down at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you have several choices here. Towards the right-hand side, almost to the very end, is a thing called reactions. And if you click on that, you'll see a place to click on raise hand. And as you can see, I raised my hand just now. And if you click it again, it will go down. Usually the host will lower it down for you. That makes it a little easier than trying to get our attention this way. Okay, Barry, how are we doing in chat? I'll catch you in a minute, Anthony.
There's nothing in chat, but Anthony has his hand raised.
I see that. Okay, Anthony, take it away.
I just added to the chat a document on adjusting Zoom for CW Academy.
Yeah, I
Thank
saw
you.
that. Thank you very much. That in fact is the document.
Appreciate that, Anthony. I'll look. Okay.
Do you, I have a question for him. Do you advise people wearing headphones while they're doing the classes?
Yes, we very much like people using headphones. There are two reasons. One of them is that sometimes we get a little bit of echo, and headphones kind of seem to make the echo problem go away. The other one is if a student's got the headphones on, they're paying attention here, to what's going on and coming in through the ears. The earphones, and not necessarily the other stuff that's going on around the student. It's much easier to stay concentrated and stay in the class while you're there at the class.
Okay.
Okay, is anybody more? Are we clear there in chat? Barry?
Yeah, click.
Okay, any more questions from hands up type of thing?
Loretta mentioned that there's a donate button on the CWops website. So if you want to donate, you can donate.
Yeah, and I think the donation over there goes into their CWops scholarship fund, and which is used to help CWops worldwide. It's a very, very good organization. And by the way, your contributions are tax exempt.
Okay.
All right.
Loretta, I saw you raising your physical hand. Were you trying to raise your hand?
Yeah, I have another question. My radio, because I did get the MFJ iambic keyer, and my radio will automatically, when I turn it to a certain words per minute speed, it'll automatically space the keyer to that speed automatically. So when we start out, what's the word per minute that we want to put it at?
Okay, that's a really, really good question. And there are, and it might take just a minute or two more explanation. The keyer speeds up to at least 25 words a minute. And the reason for 25 words a minute is that once you get up to about that kind of a speed on your keyer, it's really hard to count dits. And we want you not to count dits. We want you to hear a pattern, kind of an affair. And so what we want you to do is set your keyer at about 25. And by the way, if some people are still able to count dits at 25, and we'll move them up and have them set their keyer at 30 words per minute if that's the case. But then you'll space out what you are sending, called Farnsworth spacing, to come to an effective words per minute. So for instance, in my basic class, which will also start on Monday, Loretta, we'll start at 4 words a minute, which means that you send one character every 2.2 seconds. But so there's a space. You'll send L, O, R, E. If you're sending your name, and we work very hard on that pacing, so that even though the keyer is set at 25 words a minute, your effective speed is going to be around 4 words a minute, so that the other students in the class will hear the pattern, but also be able to recognize the character and have the few seconds that it takes to hear the character and understand and know what it is. Okay, have I helped answer that question?
You've helped us all here. Are there any more questions out there from anybody? Okay, do we have any, oh, wait a minute. Loretta's got her hand up. No, she's got her thumb up. Okay, yeah. Okay. Are there any comments? This has been a great presentation. Is there any comments?
Anthony has a question.
Oh, that's right. Well, go ahead, Anthony.
Actually, was a question / comment. Roland might want to talk a little bit about the CW SST. That I know that the academy sponsors and a lot of the class participants take part in.
Okay, thank you. There are actually two different types of these little mini contests, if you will. One of them is on every Wednesday. The CWops group runs something called the CWT, the CW contest. They do it 3 times a day, at the morning, in the afternoon, and the evening, and an hour long. And when we get students up, up to where they can operate in the 10 words a minute or higher speed, we would encourage them to get out and at least listen to the CWTs and start getting a feel for what that kind of contesting sounds like. The exchange is really quite simple. It's your call sign and your name and a number. If you are a member of CWops, if you're not a member of the CWops, it's your call sign, your name, and CWA, meaning that you're a student or an advisor in the CW Academy. There are 2 other options. K1STN, a radio club out on the East, sponsors every Sunday evening a slow speed contest, and that's the one we like to get our beginner and intermediate and beginner and basic students involved with as soon as they feel somewhat comfortable. And it's like I said, it's a slow speed contest. Folks that are operating at 10 words a minute or slower, and it's really quite popular. They do the same thing on Fridays, but that their time is more oriented towards Europe, for the European hams to be able to get on and be able to operate at a slow speed. So those are essentially the 5 opportunities. There are 3 CWTs on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, and then there is the slow speed on Sunday evening, and again on Friday afternoon.
Okay, I'd like to bring everybody's attention to the chat. Anthony and maybe some others have been adding some links in there. It's going to be important to everybody. After the presentation, I will be sending out links to the video, and I'll send out the chat thing, so everything that's in chat everybody will get afterwards. Okay, any more comments or questions there? Okay, I don't see anybody. This is going to wrap up pretty much on time here, Roland. This is unusual.
Okay, well, I don't mind being unusual.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on and doing this for us. As most of you know, this has been videoed. We tape it, or what you would call it these days, and it's sent in 2 different formats to get. YouTube is one that most people are using, and it gets lots of hits. So it goes on for a long time. Hopefully, Roland's presentation here will be seen by many. I'm sure it will. Okay. Barry, take a look in chat and see what we got.
Chat is clear.
Okay. With chat clear and nobody having any more comments here, and Roland, you're doing okay with muting with your cold. I have the same problem, but mine's usually allergies. I have to mute a lot. Okay, I'm going to say close this up for the night. As most of you know, we will not be having our Thursday emergency disaster communications as we do every week for this week. We'll pick up the normal routine next week. So because of that, so say again, somebody.
the last one for this year.
It's the last one for this year. I want to wish everybody a happy new year and the very best to everybody there. Look forward to seeing you in the new year and appreciate the participation here. Okay, I'll again open it up one more time for questions or comments. And,
One more question.
Okay, go ahead.
For the every Wednesday, some of the mini tests and all these other ones, even though I haven't started I started class Monday, but can we participate if we feel comfortable?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay. I don't have a CW number. It's just my call sign and my name. So I just put
It's a
call sign
and name and CWA.
CWA. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me add a comment to that, if I may.
Go for it.
This is Bob Carter, Whiskey Radio 7, Quebec. The CWT contest on Wednesdays actually is 4 times a day because they added a European time in there. But before you get all excited about it, you need to understand these guys are typically going a minimum of 25 words a minute, many times up to 45 words a minute. So we highly encourage you to get out there and listen. It's a great listening, learning opportunity, but unless you're really ready, I certainly wouldn't call CQ.
Good advice. And another one I learned earlier on is never send faster than you can receive. It really helps a lot. Okay, well, again, it's been a great presentation. I really appreciate this, Roland, and it's been great. Unless there's anything more in chat, we're going to close this down, and I'll get busy getting the video prepared for publication.
Happy New Year, everybody. Take care. Stay safe.
Stay safe, please.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
73s,
Take care,
everybody.
Everybody. Everybody.
Take care, Dan.
Happy New Year.
And one last comment before we run off here. I usually, after I close this down, if you come right back in like you did the first time, you can visit with each other, chat and such. I got it set to, you don't have to have me there to do that. So you're welcome to come back in and visit if you like. 73s, everyone.
Happy New Year.